Good morning, everyone. Russell Wright, Network Empire, Theme Zoom. We are very excited. This is certification level 4, and certification level 4 is all about automatic broadcasting. And this is the first kickoff level 4 certification. We've never taught this stuff before. And so we are in the compilation and creative mode, and we are going to be showing you all of the outer layers. We've actually had a lot of updates. Jimmy, Sue, and myself have been hanging out here in Phoenix together over the last couple of days, double verifying our one web ring perpetual downstream traffic system with the changes that have occurred over the last 2 years. Just making sure that all the wires are plugged into the right holes, or the RSS feeds are connected, making sure the SEO framework, the dupe content framework, all the rules that Jimmy and Sue excel at are being met with this sustainable traffic system and ranking system that we have for you. So this picture that you see here, Sue had her Crayolas all over the table.
I did indeed.
And her color pens and her whips were set aside just only momentarily. And we were drawing a lot of stuff. And, you know, it's really important to verify and double verify. There are minor tweaks and changes because of our complex and sustainable system that is designed to be the most evergreen of any system we have ever analyzed. We have amazing data analysts, Magic Cruz, Jimmy, Sue. I'm not actually a data analyst. I just sell the cool data when it looks awesome and is correct. And that's really how we all work together. And what I'd like to say here is that this has been amazing to watch the data. Like, I will participate and do the best to understand the integrations, but some of the deeper data analysis of how all of this works is definitely my team, which is an honor and privilege to work with. Now, let's just test. It's going to be kind of a big day. Let's test to make sure you guys can hear everybody. Can I please get a 1 if you can hear? You should have heard Matt and Sue already, and at least chime in there. And if you can hear me, give me a 1. Looks like we still have a few of you wandering in. Now, if any of you want to drive over to Sue's house and hand her a cup of coffee right now, that would be really awesome. Matt is probably pretty caffeinated. The reason for that is I can tell you from firsthand experience, I have slept probably just a couple of hours over the last 2 days with Jimmy in town. I must admit I did get a little more sleep than Sue last night. Crashed about 2 a.m. I don't think she got anything sleep at all. But that being said, if something is not clear, if we need to kick it up a notch, you just let us know. And also, any questions, type here in the window, and I'll try to bounce it back to you. Okay? I don't think Jimmy's going to make it this morning. He might. I don't know. I'm sure if he's up yet, but he'll make it if need be. And Sue can always crack her whip and holler at him in the other room if something comes up that Matt's also been working very, very hard in testing and analyzing all the data and all the integrations. Again, there has been, for instance, over the last year or so, there's been a lot of changes. So some of the things that we're showing you, how should I say this? A lot of the organizations that offer these platforms, especially the big boys that are invested, you know, they're worth hundreds of millions, like Twitter, Google Plus, and these types of things, they have made it very difficult to implement some of these methods because the data analysts and the hardcore technicians on the back end already know. Some of you probably remember my little video 3 years ago. Can you believe it? Google Plus Plus. Google Plus is not a social. It's not a social network. It's a operating system. It's a social operating system, which ties into all kinds of things, right? Including rankings when you know how to use it. You know, don't get these guys started on it, right? Domain authority, power, trust. They're related in some really, really interesting ways. And some of the things that happened that were very, very amazing. People were using things like the Google Reader I was using the Google Reader hand over fist for rankings, right? Just jacking and integrating all kinds of feeds. And of course, the Google Reader went bye-bye. Google Plus does not offer an RSS feed. That's why we built one for you, because they just have never offered it. And the services that come out to try to offer it don't do so well. Similarly, Twitter said, hey, no more RSS feeds from Twitter. People are using and abusing these things, much to our detriment. They're bleeding power from us, or at least overwhelming our systems. There's a lot of different reasons. So they just made it really, really difficult. So we are going to be showing you what we've come up against and how we've integrated all this for you what's currently in development, and the things that we actually do now quite successfully. So I'll step back from that and let Sue just jump into this amazing work. And thanks so much, Sue, for hanging out with me the last couple of days and staying awake.
Oh, it's been fun.
Okay.
And I want to tip my hat to Matt as well, because he has been working endless hours over the course of the last couple
He
of
really
weeks.
has, yeah.
In particular, because so let me back up and tell you a little bit of history about our ring system and where we've come and gone. WR1 and WR2 have been well established for a very long time, and the WR3 ring, typically we don't work in markets where the way that we conceived the WR3 ring at first ever really needed to be implemented. We could get everything done and ranking and moving along quite nicely with just WR1 and WR2 and the third-party platform rings that run around those. So over the course of the last year, as we backed up and looked at the WR3 again, we decided that the most interesting thing that we could do with that would be to make sure that everything gets indexed. So we looked at some of the ways that we had actually been doing indexing before on the WRS2 and decided to morph that into something that's more sustainable, because as Google changes and makes more rigid the requirements for what it wants in a backlink, it becomes more expensive to actually get some of that stuff from a third-party platform to make sure that your social media stuff is indexed. So we decided that for 2 or 3 different reasons. I also want to show you this Tech Investor News, which was a site that Russ and I worked on a couple of years ago. So this is a site that is created 100% from feeds, and they actually get a tremendous amount of traffic. So he hand curates the feeds that he uses, and as you can see, there's not a lot of content other than just the combination of all of the feeds. I think he's got probably around 30 to 50 feeds that create the site, and you can click down into it. Each, I must have hit a topic. There we go, full summary. Each one of these has actually got a couple of clicks, a couple of links. What you can't see, or what the search engine bots can't see, is the link that actually goes back to the origin of the feed on the home page, so that we don't actually cross over any lines in what a feed is supposed to do. But you actually have to come down here into the tweet itself, or into the feed item itself, before the search engines can see the link to the article. So it makes for a very huge site. The site moves, gosh, I can't even remember how many new pages it gets every day, but it's a tremendous amount. And so Google actually loves this site because of the amount of content that's constantly turning over. And as you know from some feeds, you get a reasonable amount of content. Most feeds, you just get a couple of paragraphs, and some feeds you just get basically a tweet off of. So we're modeling our WR3 sites off of that kind of an idea, because it is popular, it does draw a lot of traffic, and what we do want to do, our objective with the entire ring system, is to drive traffic as well as to get everything indexed. We want a double touch on everything. So that's our ultimate objective for the WR3. And before we go and get into some of the technical aspects of how to build and what to do, and the rise and fall of plugins and feed systems and all of that kind of good stuff that we're going to cover today, I want to check in with you guys and find out how you're doing. Have all of you managed to build out your WR2s yet? Give me a 1 if you've got your WR2 built, and a 2 if you're still building it, and a 3 if you're working on your money site and you're just kind of auditing this course this time. Okay. Hey, that's a good number of sites built. I'm proud of you guys. Excellent. All right. Beauteous. Steve's excused. I know he's got other projects he's working on. And everybody else is moving along nicely. Excellent. All right. So then we're going to do probably mostly theory today, and we'll show you the sites. We got a couple of different flavors of sites, and we'll get into the actual build of it next week, and then maybe we'll come back for a few minutes the week after that and just make sure that nobody's got any questions. So since most of you guys have your sites completed, I trust you have no questions. If you have any questions on anything that you were doing, or if somebody wants to give us one of your URLs to show off so that we can all take a look at it, let's take a couple minutes and do that now. I'm going to sip on a little more coffee. I hear somebody typing.
That would be me.
Okay. You're putting your question in the box, right?
I am.
Okay, good. All right. So no questions, no comments, no shares. Even, come on, let's see one of them. I want to see. I'm getting smiles but no offers. All right. We'll come back to that in a minute if we get to it. If somebody's brave enough. Okay. So, this is actually, the WR2 is actually the most complex. So let's take a look at what happens here. So far we've got our money site, and we've got the feeds from our money site coming out here. They come around, they get filtered. Stuff comes into the WR2, and we build out the WR2 sites continually using vCraken. That information goes through the feed and out to Twitter, Pinterest, G+, and Facebook. And now, interestingly enough, what do we not have here? So like for each silo that you have here, you have one WR2, right? So in this case, we took silo 2, and that became this WR2 site. So now this WR2 site's got feeds. It comes out here to the social media platforms, and this is going to go through, it's going to get filtered by silo so that the content from silo 1 here comes to silo 1 here. The content from silo 2 comes to silo 2 here, silo 3, silo 3. Okay, so it's not the same. We don't break it down another level in the same way that we went from WR1 to WR2. Now, the other thing is, obviously, you don't want, and we had the same thing that we had over here, right? You don't want to take your content from multiple sources where the content is going to be the same and pop those feeds into any one silo. So for each WR2 site, you're going to have 3 WR3 sites.
Maybe say that again, Sue.
Okay, for each WR2 site, you're going to have 3 WR3 sites. So one site is going to be for Pinterest or for Twitter, one site's going to be for G+, and one site's going to be for Facebook. And you can braid Twitter or Pinterest into all 3 of those. So you can have picture diversity in with some of those other things. Now, G+, Russ, G+ is going to come back out with images, right?
Yes. Let me just double confirm that. You mean when they pull the feed, or what do you?
When we pull the feed, yeah, when we pull the feed from G+ RSS.
Yes. Let me just double confirm that actually.
So you've got vCraken that's going to create.
Yeah, it's been pulling images. Yeah.
Excellent. So you got vCraken that's going to be creating your posts over here. That's going to have the image of the video that's on the page, and that's going to come over and be posting up over there. All right, so you're going to have images with G+. Whether or not you want to pull the Pinterest into there or not is at your discretion. And the other interesting thing is that from this particular silo, you could also pull some of the stuff from over here. Some of the stuff from the WRS one can come over here and pull this out. So for some of the topics that we've got where we might have problems getting some of the oomph that we need out of the WRS ones, we've pulled some of that over into here. Because it's all thematically related, we just use a keyword filter. So that's also another option. But for right now, for today, we're just going to keep this simple. Stuff coming from the WR2 comes through here, filtered and back up into. Now, yeah, okay. So the one exception to all of this is Twitter, because Twitter is one of the most important things to get indexed, and I mean it's not too hard to get it pinged, but to get it indexed is a real pain. So and while Twitter's been working toward getting more and more of their stuff indexed, I don't necessarily want to leave it to them to index the stuff. So I want to, like, what we're going to do, we've already got the means to create feeds for another project that we work on out of Twitter accounts. And so I'm going to talk to my programmers very sweetly and see if within the next, it'll probably be 2 weeks, because I know everybody's like busy on another project that's got high priority right at the moment. So that project should finish up this week, and we should be able to fairly quickly have a beta product pulled together where you guys can put in your Twitter accounts and get a feed out the other side. So we will leave you guys to have first access to that so that we can test our WR2s. In the meantime, what we're doing at the moment,
Just going to let them on that note. I know that many of you are aware of the other methodologies of attempting to do that, including one that's listed on our wiki. It's not really super stable, such as the lab null hack through Google Plus app generator and all these things. They're really not super stable, but do let us know in the Skype group if perchance you find something that we are unaware of. It's unlikely, but it's possible. So let us know. But at the end, just like Google Plus, we've decided, after looking at all the major changes, and it's pretty much monthly changes, that probably creating our own to stabilize that is the best bet.
Yep, and we have to have that anyway. It's got to be stable for the other stuff that we're doing. So it's a small step to the right to provide this service. So I know that at that point it's going to be something that we'll stay on top of. It's really a fascinating thing. So, excuse me. I want to come over here for a second. Yeah. So, let me show you two different things. As I showed you here in this, the thing that works the absolute best is if you create a page out of the feed. So we're going to bring in feeds, and what often happens when you bring in a feed into a blog, the most common RSS to blog type importers create a single page out of your feed, and they'll let you determine how long you want the page to be. This is an particularly nice one that Matt's been playing with. I really like the format of it. I think it's very sticky.
There's extra features we can add. We can have the guys retweet it. We can have the guys favorite. They can also comment on that actual tweet within this actual blog.
Nice.
I just haven't turned it on. Let me just turn that feature on a second, and we can refresh that.
Okay.
2 seconds. Templates. So I was going to quickly turn on all the output options so we can make it really interactive. Manage rules, templates. Okay, 2 seconds, almost there. Okay, and put that on and that on. Save. If you refresh that page now, that gives us a reply, the retweet, and the favorites. So then follow, and we can do whatever we want. So
Okay.
there is even more interactivity we can add to these pages.
Okay. The problem with this particular style is that there's a limited number of tweets that you can have on the page. And even if you set it to be infinite, then it's going to be an infinitely scrolling page, which past the point Google doesn't really like to index. So, so that is problem number one that we've struggled with for a long time. And so what you end up with is something like RSS to post, which brings in your feeds, gives you kind of a Pinterest-style layout over here. That's probably more to do with the theme than it is to do with the... But it allows you, it's going to explode your feed so that you actually get an individual page for each item in your feed. And what this allows you to do, your blog is going to grow, obviously, essentially forever, unless you do something with that. But the cool thing about that is that it gives you an inbound link for your individual tweet, and that links back to your WR2, which
It's
links
also
back.
also RPC pinged with extended RPC ping listing.
Right, so it's going to get indexed as well as this page is going to get indexed. Is that what you mean?
Well, it can, depending upon the power, but I'm
Right.
just saying that the pinging is massive compared to putting a bunch of tweets on one page.
Absolutely. I didn't mean indexed. It's going to get crawled.
Yeah, and sometimes indexed, depending upon the DA of powering these up.
Right, exactly. So what you're going to want to do is, like, that's the ideal thing, is to have an individual page, because then you can go in and control how much content you actually want to keep on your blog. You can go in like once a year and drop the content from 2 years ago or something like that. If you want to keep your blog
And by the way, you guys, that was a testing site. We're working with the guy who developed that particular plugin, and we have some of our own variations. So don't judge me. I won't judge you. The format's not correct. We were actually testing a variety of different feeds. In fact, that's not even updated. We've got several other encasing formats that could use that. I just slapped that up for a test a few months back on, for student demoing. But we've used some other themes that you can really get the formatting pretty nicely. You can go through FeedBurner too and get things cleaned up. And so we'll get into that more a little bit later.
Yeah, absolutely. So any questions up until this point? What we're doing and how we're doing it?
Let's see what we've got going on here.
You guys are still out there.
They're here.
Everybody's very quiet.
Why don't you guys give me some feedback here? Give me a 1 if you understand everything up to this point. Give me a 2 if you don't, and or type in a question if you've got one, so we can roll over all this. Okay, Razvan's saying that they're all listening and they're amazed. Steve is saying he understands so far. Jonathan understands the principles. Todd, okay. Right. General principles.
Okay, good. So let me come back here to this page that we're looking at. One thing I want to do solely generated by vCrackle posts. At this point, yes. I want, one of the things that I want to do is play around with Snap a little bit further. I hadn't been able to get Snap to do exactly what I wanted to do in terms of being able to take my blog posts on the WR1 site and or on the WR1 blog and pull in the right amount of content It's like either too much or too little. But I would like to get Snap on here so that it also pulls the content from my blog onto the WR2. And then we could repost that. Well, that'll come out in the feeds as well. It'll come out in the feeds as a link back to the WR2 as opposed to a link back to the money site. So that's where I would be pulling original content. The only reason that I haven't worked on that any harder is because most of my clients and or the people that I help my certified advisors with, they tend to not post very often on their own money blog. So the amount of content that ends up out on the WR3 site is sporadic next to everything else that we're doing. Doesn't mean that I wouldn't include it, it just means that it's not a really high priority to me because I'm generating, when I get these, when you have the content that's generated by vKraken and it comes out through the feed back here and it gets indexed, what it's doing is increasing the domain authority on your WR2 site. So it's supposed to be sticky content and traffic that gets driven back to the money site in terms of the banner ads on the tops of all of the pages in a very similar format to what we do on the PinVid sites. And as well, it's going to increase the domain authority on here, which is going to help your contextual links back to your WRT site. And it also increases the page authority on all of your social media platforms. So as this feed comes out and comes back around and gets posted on the side, those do follow links back to all of your social media platforms. And one of the things that Jimmy and I have talked about over the course of the last couple of days is the dramatic increase you can see in getting your domain authority on your money site increased by increasing the page authority on your WRS1s. Like that's just, it's an anomaly that I saw for like 18 months, maybe 2 years before I met Jimmy. And I just kind of sat there going, because they were all no-follow links, right? And I sat there going, well, how the heck can these no-follow links, like I can see the difference. I can see that the more time and energy I put into getting the page authority up on my branded WRS1s, I can see what a difference it's doing to the ranking on the money site. But because they were no-follow links and I was still kind of in the old Google mindset, I hadn't put all of the pieces together until I hooked up with Jimmy, and it was like this aha moment. So, so hence the reason why we came up with a 5 iframe punch that was later expanded a bit by the domain authority stacking, because that's what basically all of this is going to be. Okay, so it's a mechanism. What we're trying to do is create as much page authority increase here so that you can get as much domain authority increase here and have it be as automated and painless as possible. So and when you look at it and you got these clients, or even if you have to write blog posts for your own blog, right? I mean, we've all got other stuff that we're doing. How many times can you post a day unless you have a team of writers writing, right? So what this is all designed to do is to create that whoosh of content that ends up enhancing your ranking power, and at the same time being sites that are intriguing enough to drive traffic, interested traffic, related traffic, right, back to your money site.
It's a perpetual loop.
Yes. I'm just reading here what Brian's asking. Is the WR2 blog feed provides? Oh, that was the same question. Okay, good. All right.
Now, just wanted to add something here. The other things that we've taught you guys, some of you in certification level 2 and certification level 1 are, actually never mind, I just changed my mind. Go ahead, Stu. I'm not going to bring that up. I'm entitled to change my mind anytime I want. Yeah, thank you.
That was a woman's prerogative. Wait a minute.
Well, it's now it's my prerogative to. It would just confuse the issue.
All right, that's fine. So So we have two different plugins that we've been playing with. The RSS to post, which explodes the feeds onto their own individual pages, and then the RSS post importer, which creates the one long ever-scrolling page. And then the last thing that we really want to talk about today are the banners. So how many of you guys got banners on your WR2s or created a banner at all since we last spoke? Or since the beginning of this course? Give me a 1 if you've created a banner and a 2 if you're kind of like trying to figure out what you want to do for your banners. All right, fair enough. Fair enough. So we can reuse those same banners. Actually, if you create those banners, you can use them in a multitude of places. I'm just trying to think. If you create really nice ones, you can also even use them over on Pinterest. But you could obviously you can use them for any marketing. But you're going to use them on the W. Do you want to speak to that for a minute, Russ?
Yeah, one of the things that you guys should be aware of is that in an ideal world, you would have already got your WR2 network set up with a variety of different type of auto-blogging techniques. Did I just say auto-blogging? No, I didn't say that. Different kind of different sites like Video Kraken or whatever. And that being said, you should have a pretty decent amount of testing on Pinterest sites, Pinvid sites, and a variety of other sites, RSS models that are all part of WR2 layer. I was just dealing with this morning, actually. I have a site that's got 80,000 pages indexed, and then I've got a site that's got 400,000 pages indexed, and then I've got, these are all automated sites, and their exposure rate is, or their rate is very high, but I wasn't getting the results on the banner click-throughs. When I look at the site that's upstream, the money site from the automated sites, I wasn't getting the same click-through that I'm getting on, for instance, Multi-Channel University, which is this horrible, ugly site that Sue and I whipped out over beer in like an hour and a half, which is kind of annoying because it only took us an hour and a half to do it together, and then other sites we've had outsourced, or even some of the other things with the new tweaks on them have taken more like 3 hours to put up. The point is that the banner on that one converts like nobody's business, and if I hadn't have been looking at all of the data and everything, I would not have even noticed that. And so it's like there's a time when you've been testing your banners that if you're getting an average of 30% more clicks on something, I don't care. Remember on WR2s, like if it's drawing the click through any means, I don't care what kind of cheats or hacks you've used. I'm just talking clicks, not sales. You really want to, if you're not tracking your actions, and Sue and I were talking about this yesterday, if you're not tracking your actions, and some people do not, then you won't know whether those clicks are actually generating sales, right? If they are pulling clicks and that's all the data you have, it's a pretty good bet that in the numbers game, if you're pulling the clicks and the time on site to the site that you're clicking through to is 2 minutes or greater, you're doing a great job. In fact, I would say anything over 30 seconds, anything over a minute is like that banner's working. So if you get both the click-throughs and the time on site, which I'm getting on this banner, you can just swap out those successful banners across your network. You can start testing. And so for me, I'm definitely putting those on the WR3s because they've already been tested in battle in the WR2s. Does that make sense? You guys give me a 1 if it kind of makes sense what I'm saying. Because I got this really battle-tested banner, which if you go to multichanneluniversity.com and look at the banner, it's one that upplays Sue Bell's SEO dominatrix thing. That just gets the crap clicked out of it. Like, oh no, it wasn't that one. I'm sorry, Sue, it was a different one. It's the under video banner, and it was actually, I consider it an embarrassing and horrible site, but it's a Pinvid site, so you guys know that. It's the banner that is download the ultimate online marketing process map. Sorry, it was the process map. Although her SEO dominatrix one does get a lot of clicks, but the time on site is a little bit lower because people, that's what you call an intrigue click. People are clicking it because it's interesting, right? But can you show that? Tell me the name one more time. Multi-Channel University. So what I'm really speaking to you is what should be obvious, and it will also be obvious for those of you who are going to be taking our ad server setup with Kevin. Just click on a post on this horrible, ugly site. If you click on this banner across all of our network of dozens upon dozens of sites, ignore the video. Whoops. Wow, that doesn't make any sense. Go back to.
Oh, that's my computer. It's just having issues.
Okay, but go deeper into the site. Oh. Anyway, not that banner. No.
Okay.
Just go back and go deeper into the site. Like go into one of those posts. See what's going on here. Let me see. Something might be broken. Okay, see that banner? That outperforms across all the 30 or 40 banners that we have by dozens of percent. Now, of course, you can draw all kinds of conclusions. Is it the word free? Probably. You're giving away a marketing map. Is it the process map porn there? As you guys know, we're really big on process map porn. It really works well. But these are just things that work. And so what do I do? If this is battle tested, right? If it's battle tested, there's a couple things going on, and it really, really works, then it makes sense to bring these. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take them from the WR2 and I'm going to put them in the WR3s, because we already know they're working, right?
Right.
Okay, that's all I really wanted to say to that, Sue.
Cool.
Okay.
All right, so that's actually the last bit. We're going to put the banners on the same at the tops of the pages. We don't have so many videos on the WR3s, so we'll get into the placement of all of that stuff next week, and we will get into some of the pitfalls that we've run into with using the plugins and the exact setup. It's not unlike WR2s. You're going to find some of the same plugins like shortcode UI and those kinds of things. So yeah, I think it's a pretty easy class today. We can let you out a little bit early if you guys promise to get.
Now here's.
Well, you guys got your blogs done last week. You just didn't show them to me.
Yeah, I'd like to. I also want to speak a little bit to the fact that you guys are in a. I'm just going to go ahead and come out here. This is the thing I was going to not say earlier. Is that this is the first kickoff course of this thing, and I want you guys to be aware of what's going on underneath the surface, because you'll probably notice that we're kind of in pseudo prototype phase. It's all there, but there's a couple things that have changed, like the Twitter and all these other things. I don't have any problem just letting you guys know what's going on. Things have changed. We've discovered some new tools that we weren't even doing before, and you guys are here now. This is what Sue was just addressing. With there are no follows and then they're powering up. It's what I spent like literally all day doing with Jimmy is like there's a couple of minor tweaks that we're going to be making, and you guys are going to be the first ever to get it. That will power this up times 10 that we didn't even have automated. Okay, so if you're feeling this sense of, okay, a little bit of ambiguity on some of these outer things like the Twitter thing and the rest, just know that we've had to make an adjustment. So you guys have arrived perfectly at time during a prototype phase that will actually power up even what we had times 10. So I wanted to make sure you guys understood, why you're experiencing this a little bit of a prototype phase. We're making some adjustments.
Yep, exactly.
And it's pretty exciting. I want to make sure you understand the value of that, because this is the first time we've taught this, and we haven't even implemented the SEO boost process that you see on her diagram here. Okay, we implemented most of it, but there's a couple of new tweaks that it's just to blow away everything that we had. Okay, so we just want to make sure you guys know what's going on there. And that being said, thank you. Good night.
My pleasure to talk a little bit about monetizing on the sites.
Okay.
So there's monetization available on both the WR2s and the WR3s. What was our WR2 sample site? Matt?
Oh. Pardon, say it again?
What was the WR2 sample site?
Oh, Web Development UK. I'll send you the link now.
That's okay. We got it.
Yeah, next, what I'm working on for you guys is actually the configuration of all the plugins. That's what's kept me busy this whole week, is the screenshot step by step, go through the whole process, build it and put it all together. So you're going to have all the stuff that's coming through. plus looking under the hood next week of what we've built in the W3.
Awesome. So,
Nice.
so there's, depending on what theme you use, there's usually 2 or 3 places where you can have ads. And sometimes you can have an ad up here. We talked before about having some kind of an ad under here. And
if you click on the deep silo builder, I've dropped one in there, Sue, on the silo link. A bit more up in the scroll bar.
Yeah, it's just a lag. Okay.
All right.
So yeah, you can see the under video ad here. And so what I would do, we also talked, we haven't talked about the, I know we had Kevin on last week and he talked about ARP reach, but we haven't actually talked about the ad server stuff yet, have we?
No.
I think
that's week 6.
Well, yeah, and Kevin's putting together a course tied around setting up an ad server because not everybody's interested in that. But we could also pull that module, even if it's a standalone independent, we could actually pull that into the certification levels, such as this one, and pull that in there.
We will definitely pull that in. That's going to be ready about the middle of April. And we talked, I talked also to Kevin about the possibility of maybe offering a service for those who want to. Is Kevin on today?
Don't think so.
All right, so we also talked about providing a service because we have a ad server plugin set up for ourselves. So there's a possibility. You guys give me a 1 if you'd be interested in using an ad service from us. And because I know I asked this question once before.
Yeah, there's 2 ways to go. You can set up an ad server. I would consider that non-trivial. If you guys plan to scale, if you plan to do larger things, having your own ads. Now, there's a learning curve for the ad server and this and that. How to use it, but that's when you really control the whole frame of all your ads.
Okay.
If you'd like to outsource it to us, we haven't decided whether or not we want to offer that. If there's enough interest, we would. So you guys would need to let us know.
Advisors and
yeah, it would be cert only.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I do is in shortcode UI, you can set up. Obviously, you can set up a shortcode. And within that shortcode, you can have a piece of JavaScript. And within that piece of JavaScript, instead of just having, like this is just the image that we use, and instead of having that image, you can have a piece of code that comes from the ad server. So then in the ad server, you can set up as many things as you want, and they can be whatever you want. Some of the ads can go to your WR1 site, some of the ads can go to an affiliate product, some of the ads can go to Amazon, whatever you want. You can set it up on the server that we're playing with. You can set it up so that it rotates however you want it to rotate. Right?
Yeah, the rotation issue, folks, is a really, really huge one. So we have solved that. I mean, there's services that you can use that we have found that are very poor because you're always dependent upon the speed of your server to effectively do that. And when you start getting a couple million pages on a site or multiple sites, and you can't afford any speed issues. So that's one of the reasons we started looking at. Some of you guys will scale. Maybe 1 year from now, maybe 5 years from now, you'll have way more than 1 billion pages online. That being said, when you start getting to those kind of numbers and you're split testing, you're going to bog stuff down. I mean, I've seen that just even some of our larger sites. So that's why we're considering offering it as a service. Just if people don't want to manage their own. But these are things to be aware of too, as you're setting up your own empire.
Yep. And I was talking to somebody, it may have been in the Skype group recently, who was in the Pinvid Skype group, who was asking if they couldn't just use the Pinvid site to be a 100% affiliate site.
Right.
And there's no reason we can't do that. Both the Pinvids and to a little bit lesser extent the RSS sites were actually set up to focus on driving more domain authority and less traffic. The Pinvid sites are set up to drive more traffic and less domain authority. Okay, so we try to balance within the network.
Right.
So So both the pin vids and these can be used to drive traffic to affiliate offers, if that's the way you want to go. If you don't have a money site, or if you want to just in the early days when I played around with setting up the WR2 and the WR3 sites, like that was what I was using them for, was to drive traffic to affiliates, because it was an easy way for me to check and see how much traffic I was actually driving to a money site without having to worry about setting up the money site. So, so in regards to the WR2s, it totally depends on the theme that you pick as to how many opportunities you get to actually put an ad on the page. And within the software that we're playing with, within the ad server software, it's out of the playing stage. It's really pretty decent. But within that software on a page, you can define however many, I forget what it's called, but however many areas that you want. And within each area, you can do ad rotation of different ads. And I think haven't even tweaked it out to the point where we can have different ads on different silos.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's pretty crazy what the level of granularity that you can get to. The more granular you get, the more difficult it is in the setup. But there's trade-offs along those lines.
What?
Right. So the places where I would put ads personally are up on top, underneath the video, and then you can have something over here in the sidebar. And by far and away, what we found that works best on the PinVid sites is underneath the video. So wherever you've got a video, I would definitely put an ad right under it, because what typically happens is folks click on the video and they're watching it, and they get to a point where the video doesn't have them quite so absorbed, and they read what's right underneath it. And if that is engaging enough, it will draw a click. So, and they can draw some pretty crazy clicks, actually, percentage-wise.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, on average, with pin vids that really are really bad pin vids, meaning this is more from the secondary course, and we'll give you some numbers on WR3s too. But on average, if you want to get like 200 or 300 unique clicks a day, with a one-pop setup like the 2 hours that Sue and I spent on one particular site, you're going to need, about 100,000 pages indexed. That should give you guys a little. And that's not too terrible for what Sue, was it 2 hours of work? Of course, we have to pay our server fees, but we're using that for a lot of different things. We have a whole bunch of them on there. It's actually not that expensive. When you do it right, I'll take, 200 unique clicks at 3.5 to 4 minutes on site per day with 100,000 pages. You guys think you can do that? I mean, that's back to the PinVid stuff. And if you haven't taken the Automatic Video Traffic Level 3 course, that's what we cover in there. And then by that time, you're generating all this power. And when you start setting up this third ring, you're really starting to then drip into those ads as well. And things are a little bit different in the outer ring. And as we start making all these tweaks, they're going to both power up, and they should act as a mirror to increase the power and the traffic on those other layers all up the chain. And that's pretty exciting. You start powering up everybody. And as the powering up goes on the outer, as you start implementing these things we're talking about here, that middle ring is you're going to start watching both the impression rate and the clicks, go way above 100 to 250 per day per 50 to 100,000 pages. Again, it depends on the topic, okay? But it's the time on site and all that stuff. How these two rings complement each other is what excites me the most.
Mm-hmm. So Mark asked, are the WR3 WordPress sites? And yes, they are.
Yeah.
There isn't any reason why you couldn't set them up on a Web 2.0 property. The only thing I just like for the WR. Let me just bring over the image again for a second. This ring and this ring and this ring I like to own. Reason being, I want that infrastructure. Now I also want to make use of the third-party platforms in terms of the traffic that they drive, the domain authority that they have inherently. So we integrate all of that into the structure that we build. But the reason that I want to have a segment of each ring that I actually own is because these platforms come and go, right? I mean, I've watched social media platforms that I thought were never ever going to die just crumble and go away. They become obsolete. So
Friend feed's closing down as of 2 days ago.
Right.
So they just go and go.
Exactly. So there's an intrinsic layer that I want to be able to own, that framework that should be mine, and then on top of that, you can stack anybody else's framework, right? You can grab any third-party platform that you want as they come and go, just swap one out, plug another one in, and Bob's your uncle. This can become evergreen and perpetual, and you never have to worry about suddenly losing 3/4 of your inbound links.
Yeah, once your infrastructure's up, it's pretty stable. You don't have to worry about those issues of things being dropped or terms of services changing where they just drop half your pages or delete your account.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because I tell you what, we've all had instances on that, especially
What?
as we start getting more creative and
No.
what?
Cora.
Right?
What? I didn't know. Why'd they do that? Okay.
So by next week, I believe that we will have. I mean, I will say that this is an ongoing, perpetual mastermind course. Brian asked when
Yeah,
we'll hear
exactly.
all
Yeah,
these
it's like
juicy latest details.
well, she already revealed it, actually.
It is a perpetual mastermind course, and so as we continue to perfect things and as we find better plugins and all of that, as my team convinces me to write my own plugins so that we don't have to rely on one of our core plugins. One of the reasons that we're a little bit like this or that today is because one of the core plugins that we use, Matt installed last night on our new test site, and it came up with a whole page full of errors. And gosh, I just hate that. So then he spent most of the night, I mean daytime, his time, scrambling around looking at other plugins and alternatives that might be more stable than what it is that we had been using. And so...
And I think it's appropriate that we mention Feed API and post to
Sure.
page. We never really gave you guys a specific software. So one of my friends, Charlie, who is the owner of feedsapi.com, is what we're currently testing. We have our own types of things in the works, but when you were looking at our Twitter army, when I test, right now I'm polling using a service. It's a plugin called, again, this is not tweaked. The style sheet's not correct. This is only a few things, and I've got some nicer sites set up or in the works with outsourcers. But the plugin, if you guys are interested in what this is, what we use, it is tied to a service. What it does is it pulls full content. Now, I'm testing social sites, but the reason we haven't brought up and like talked to you about what it is like you could really blow yourself up with this thing if you don't know what you're doing. Okay, it pulls full content from an RSS feed, whether the owner wants you to or not. Okay, so and also we were trying to decide exactly how to educate you on how to do that, but you need to, the advanced version has actually a monthly subscription, and we wanted you guys to be able to use free stuff as well. But so that's called Feeds API. Okay, and the plugin that goes with it is post to RSS to post.
Yeah, that's the one. His latest version's got issues. I had to roll it back to the previous version.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. Huh.
That's
Okay.
what I tested today. So
Well,
that's why I roll it back.
oh, I don't know what. I have had no problems with it whatsoever. The recent version. But it's entirely possible. We haven't got our heads together on a little bit, and also it's a third-party plugin that we wanted to double test for you. But this is pulling the social feed through it. Content that is not social feed looks much better formatted right now. So we were just looking on exactly how we wanted to address that. And if you want to pull large volumes, it'll pull from any feed. You can pull, for instance, I am pulling, not on this site, but on a few of my other test sites, I'm pulling Google alerts, usually perfectly formatted right onto your page. You can also no-follow the backlink. So one of the reasons I was dragging my heels on talking to you guys about this is because of the no-follow issue. What Sue and Jimmy and I were talking about, we've found some, as Brian was saying, tell us more. We've found some loopholes and some things that before we get into the no-follow issue, we want to make sure that we discuss more. Okay, so that's pretty cool. So the bottom line is that's just one of a couple of different ways you can pull content with a feed, with or without the owner's permission. I want to make sure that you guys deal with, when it comes to the social accounts, we really want to make sure that, I mean, using the follow is fine, because what they'll do is you'll just put a link from your blog to the social account. So this is like this is like domain, machine gun, nuclear authority stocking. This is not like anything that we teach anywhere else. So just want to make sure that make sure that the plugins that the team agrees on. What really happens is we assess the plugins that we're currently using, and usually they last for a certain amount of time, and then Sue looks at them and she'll say, okay, forget it, I'm writing this. Okay. Which is what's happening right now. So if we seem a little bit dubious, it's because we're just like, well,
we're always pushing the envelope.
Yeah, guys, we are way pushing the envelope. I mean, I saw, over the last 2 days, I've seen multi-million-dollar terms, ranked with, 30 links that would normally take hundreds. I mean, the stuff that when you start looking at that kind of shit, pardon my French, you're just like looking at, we know the reason why, and part of the reasons that we were able to do that, this is why Jimmy is asleep, because I think we squeezed every last drop out of his brain. The reason that we're able to do that is because some of the things that you're seeing here, the secrets of how to do that, directly or indirectly, is in this little diagram here. And so, I mean, I've never seen anything like, Sue, you saw me yesterday, I was just staring at the wall. I was like, Sue, I got to go home. I was sipping on a beer. I was just like, it can't be. Like what I just saw, I can't be, that one particular thing. It's like, that's just crazy. So in light of that, we were just looking at, okay, do we want 3 WR3s to 1 PinVid, or like, what was it,
Exactly.
And when we had everything tweaked, Sue had to come in and modify this diagram for you guys. So we're like, you guys are sitting right here on the outer darkness. Like, this is the outer ring from darkness to light, where this is the absolute bleeding edge. It's one of the reasons why I didn't want to make this course really open to everyone. But I wanted that to be, I wanted it to have a prerequisite. But I'm glad that it's been made available to some of you. Welton is saying, well, I'm really glad to be preparing for this because he's getting his head around it. He's not ready to do this, but he's, auditing the course. So this is really good. Once you know what's out there and what we're really thinking about and what we're actually looking at, especially the follow, no follow, and the trust flow issues that come about when you're automating this, gives you an idea of what we're really dealing with. So you're the first group to be exposed to this training. So
the pioneers.
You guys are definitely pioneers. This is like hardcore craziness. Like, okay. Any comments on that? Or should we just wrap it up and let it go?
I think that's good.
All right, you guys.
Yeah, guys. Last thing I want to say is we're going to have a lot of screenshots and the setup configs all fitted and set up for you guys over the next few days. You'll start seeing it all starting to filter through, because I've had to go through and I've had to test and check and make sure that everything's right and verify and double verify with Stu and Russ and Jimmy what are the exact settings for each of these components as we build them out. So you'll be seeing those things rolling out over the next few days as well.
Yeah, Mark is saying this helps me set up my biz plan. Yeah, awesome. This is definitely stuff you can set your biz plan on. You guys are starting to get the picture that to do what we do takes a little bit more patience than, say, ranking on page 1 for 2 keywords for like 4 weeks, right? That's not, but what's crazy is like some of these things that we've been looking at, Jimmy and Sue were talking about last night, they're stable. These are things that these models are just going to be pumping up the power and the trust over time to your broadcast down. In fact, the more it's progenesis. It's like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like a buoyancy. The more content you push out, once this is set up, the more you start juicing up and powering yourself automatically. It's like this pressure. And the more pressure that blows up as it goes to the outer rings, it starts pressurizing and just, you start ranking everywhere. Then you start ranking for terms you didn't even know existed on your site. You just like, you start seeing all these things come around. And by the time we complete the perpetual keyword money machine interface, which allows you a global overview, a user interface overview of the entire system, you guys are definitely pioneers at that point. Nothing on the planet. People have tried to do what we're talking about. We know because they come to us saying, I tried to do that. What are you guys doing? Like people with lots of money try to do. You guys will be on the cusp edge and are on the cusp edge of that. Okay, I guess we should wrap this up. So good to see you guys. We look forward to seeing you next week. And this has been Sue Bell, Matt Cruz. Thanks again, Matt, for working so hard. Russell Wright.
No worries, guys.
And Jimmy's not here, but he's thinking of all you. We'll see you next week.
Cheers.
Thanks so much,
Thanks,
guys.
everyone. Cheers. Bye.